Hello, good afternoon. I will try and keep it relatively short to get us back onto track, but as Alex said, there's going to be plenty of time for questions at the end. So I want to talk about mining as part of a catchment. It's all about putting your operation, whether it be an exploration project all the way through to a closing mine, in the context of where it's situated. So we've heard that the resource is important to have. It's critical to have. You can't have a mine without a resource. So where you're located, you don't have a lot of choice about that. So you need to understand your position within that catchment as a whole. And this is the trend we're seeing globally, is miners are looking at where they're located within a catchment. See if I can make this work. Great. So it's always the right time to consider water. There are plenty of needs and challenges. You've got too much, you've got too little, it's in the wrong place, it's at the wrong time of year. What do I do with disposing of my process water? Where can I put it? What quality does it need to be? How much is it going to cost me? Who else is using the water in the catchment that I'm operating in? And how is my operation going to affect them? And how is their operation going to affect me? Is the growth of a town going to reduce my water supply to my project? And so effective assessment and management of water is critical to a successful project. Okay. So this just shows ERM has an approach that's been adopted worldwide of basically starting at the beginning, building a conceptual model with to understand the catchment and the resources within that catchment, who's using them and so on, and then building on that knowledge throughout the project life cycle at each stage to add more depth or direct specific studies. The earlier you start, the better directed your future studies are. So in targeting and exploration, we have a new thing which we're calling CSET, stands for Catchment Scale Exploration Tool, and this sort of came out of our understanding of the water resources in a catchment scale, and using open source data, this big data that's around, simple groundwater geochemistry, combining groundwater geochemistry, the mineral signatures in groundwater geochemistry, with the groundwater catchment model to say, here I have an interesting geochemical signature, where has this water come from? And then providing, I don't know if I can get a pointer to work on here. Yeah, you can see we're seeing interesting targets here, interesting mineral chemistry here, and it's this is where the groundwater has come from. So somewhere along here, we've got a groundwater that has passed through mineralization. So baseline and scoping. Understanding what the baseline is really important at the targeting and exploration stage. Where are my future problems going to come from water? Where is my future water source going to come? We can, using the catchment model, we can understand exactly where to sample your baseline sampling. Rather than doing a sort of a scattergun approach, you can target your sampling locations so that they're more efficient, more effective, more cost-effective. We can do initial high-level sensitivity assessments. Where is the groundwater going to flood during the wet season? Where are you likely to change the spring line if you put infrastructure in, and so on and so forth. Pre-feasibility, feasibility, as we've heard previously, starting early and avoiding problems rather than having to mitigate them later on is much more cost-effective. So we can look at, again, building on the catchment model that we've designed in the exploration phase. We can add more data as required based on the studies that have been carried out to say, is climate change going to have an impact on our water resource? We may have a license to abstract a certain amount of water from the river or a source, but there may not be that resource available climatically. You may have several years on the trot, as you can see in this figure here, several years on the trot where the water naturally flows below their abstraction limits. So they've already got a problem with abstraction that is not due to climate change, is not due to their abstraction, is not due to other factors. It's just the natural climatic variation of the catchment. We can look at, this figure here shows competing resources. So these are villages that are abstracting water from boreholes, and these are their abstraction envelopes. So, you know, if we're going to abstract water, let's abstract it from here where it's not competing with other people. Commissioning and operating, again, so dashboards are becoming more and more common. A lot of people are using them to live link data that they're collecting in the field to dashboards so that you can understand not where my problems are, but where my problems are coming from. So have we got a trend? We're well below our release criteria, but we're trending upwards. What can I do now that's going to cost me less to fix it than in the future when it's already going to be a problem and I'm going to be facing fines and so on and so forth. So we can design these dashboards at any scale. So you can have them at the department scale at a mine, or you can have it at a mine scale, or you can have it at corporate scale. So at the corporate level, they can see, these are all my operations, these are the ones that are struggling with this particular aspect of water, these are the ones where I need to focus my efforts to my expenditure next year to help solve some of these water problems. And closure. So for most of us, closure is the end, but for the people who live there, closure is a new beginning. And I think if we look at it like that, as not the end, but as a new start, right from the beginning, as was pointed out previously, then we can see it as a positive change rather than a negative thing. You know, why are we leaving behind a negative legacy? No, let's make this into something that the community, we've spent years building up their skills and their entrepreneurship and so on. Let's make it into something that they can carry forward and be proud of, and basically sort of forget that the mine was ever there. This is now their environment, and this is something that we can be proud of. And of course, water enclosure is a massive cost because of the uncertainty. So the earlier that we're looking at where the water is in the catchment, where it's going, what its quality is, how that's being monitored along the way, the easier it is for us to understand how to manage it at closure. And so that's it.